And by the way, when you do a formidable cut of these notes, so people can get inside of your mind to see where you're coming from and how much time you've taken to portray reality with humility and hilarity by exaggerating like a caricature picture that into which is me. Um, this is supposedly going somewhere. If you become a character, a persona, which is a caricature poster child for either and also a homeless person in modern 2020 realities, contextual circumstance, socioeconomically, rising up with ideas and ambitions through this market based global structure that implicate why the fusion of our two nations is so critical. Um, you you have to remind people this is not really an act. This is a characterization of a circumstance I'm sort of in, and I don't seek per se um, a pre-assumed compassion or certainty to my beliefs or concepts or constructs to which this is coming to recognize a very critical angle against. Because you gotta remember, you're gonna have to get them through a quantum leap of meeting you in many situations as a funny guy, sort of being self-deprecatory in an ambiguously sort of transcendent way, to a very critically, literally, um, hurt and now slightly pathetic um, serious guy. Um, they're gonna you're gonna make it. Your first introduction is going to be a characterization of you. Then they're gonna see your Picasso. Your Picasso being a very realistic depiction of your times of fleeting death on the American streets, breaking down socioeconomic ideologies so critically it is going to humiliate modern society and villainize them massively. And these are just as stark a contrast as you might be making in comparison to sort of a socialist economic civilization to a very capitalistic one, both still fused with modern, benefits which far supersede many other third world horror stories in terms of construing these benefits for modern social disparities. Um, you have to figure out how to not become unappealing, and this has to do with how you tell your your non-caricature variable version of these absolutely atrocious pathological displays of mankind with such prevalent knowledge ethically and provisions necessitatively tangible reality for our community to ascertain and produce. So, uh, you might lose a lot of people in trying to use them to see this humility and then see this very nasty critical analysis of who you really are. It's sort of like what I could imagine, coming out to explain to maybe, say, an American conservative who doesn't understand what the Colbert Report is essentially doing. They see sort of a compassionate sympathy to enthuse a humility to a conservative uh, mockery. But Colbert vindictively is demolishing Fox News for certain actions. It's sort of like, I don't know how to explain it, but I just remember one example where one of my conservative friends was like, "Yeah, I hate the Daily Show. I like the Colbert Report. He seems to understand how to be funny and conservative and yada 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 yada." And he is, but he's actually indirectly taking a far more cynical means to expose the critical corruption in the manufacturing of uh, uh, what is it? Uh, Manufacturing of consent than the Daily Show is. The Daily Show presents a stupidity to uh, not thinking a certain compassionate way. Colbert exposes the pure evil in lying about these and thwarting modern intellectual uh, liberal agendas to exist. Not to say he's demonizing anyone, but his sarcasm kind of is. Um, so if I was able to go back and explain to him, I was like, dude, Colbert's not just making fun of conservatives, he's raping conservatives with his production. If anything, you should be more offended by him than Jon Stewart by far. If you're a Fox News conservative agenda thinker, but Colbert, like Noam Chomsky, in the end is at a medium state where he has this philosophical belief: if you can laugh at yourself, whatever that idealistical agenda might be, whatever side you might come out on in a vote, um, you can get to the next step of creating something contextually brilliant without having to feel like your agenda has won the boxing match, if you will. So it is benevolent in construction, but if the person doesn't get the joke, they could feel like a huge douchebag. And you need to make sure your viewers do not get from that cafe to that public broadcast and to that YouTube channel feeling like a bunch of douchebags. I don't know what you're going to have to do to accomplish confirming why this is a very critical note in reporting, but never forget you are not trying to demonize anything. You are promoting humility in the ambition to invoke new creation. This isn't a fight. This is a self-driven roast. And you want to take all the um, bullets, if you will, through this caricature persona. So no given derivative uh, viewer feels hit. They're watching you hit yourself indirectly, in humility, to be hilarious. Hopefully, if if you give people the feeling like you're going out into the community and to their societies and punching them out, as opposed to playing a game where you're trying to, like, when you got your little brother to laugh, when your parents laugh, you're beating yourself up. You're doing a really good job at making it look like you're really hurting yourself, and you're not. But they need to see you hitting yourself in your life, in your context, or when they find out how bad a situation you've had to experience to get through to people, uh, they are transcended to fix it, not humiliated by their lack of consideration of it. Taking that step, because again, if this comedic stand is not to create a marketing structure to get people to watch the documentary, you've done nothing. You don't care about stand-up comedy. You don't care about people liking you. You care about people taking you seriously and addressing how to fix a problem in the documentary, through the documentary. Um, so again, don't try to be the funniest stand-up comedian. Remember, it is purely a means to palatably get them to point A on your YouTube site and through the public broadcast to point B and think a multitude of other letters and variables as to what this point A to point B has addressed.